All right, let's hit record. Take a shot of caffeine that way. And we are talking about basically like pitch parties, we'll call them, is like, how do we, I think that's what we want to do is talk a little bit about like, how do we get together? What are some ways to get customers to pitch to us? And for us to get out there outside of this, is a little bit thinking outside of the box in marketing, as well. But and we've talked about it a little bit. We've talked about some of this stuff, but I think I want to go back to that and be like, okay, what are some ways that we can really get customers to open up and make it less networking and more working session, I guess, for lack of a better term. So if there's no objections, then we're gonna 3, 2, 1. Well, hello and welcome back. We are here. We are building better businesses. We are building better developers. We are Developreneur, the podcast, as seen on TV, if you're watching it on YouTube. I am Rob Broadhead, one of the founders of Developreneur, and on my second cup of tea at this point. So a little bit like pumped with the caffeine that's in there. I am not only a founder of Developreneur, I'm also a founder of RB Consulting, where we sit down, have a conversation about your business, your customers, your goals, and your technology sprawl or your technology not at all, whatever it happens to be. We discuss things like simplification, automation, integration, innovation, and how to leverage technology to meet the needs of you and your customers so you have a custom recipe for success for you that is not only going to help you today, but 6 months and hopefully even 6 years or more down the road, because we're going to help you build something that is not just solving the problem, but also that roadmap or the processes and procedures and the team or the things that you need in place to actually grow with your business. Now, good thing and bad thing. Wow. Again, this has been a week full of good thing and bad things. A bad thing is it is not April 15th yet as we record this, but it is getting close to that date. And I still have to do one of my taxes at least. And that is probably going to be the good thing is I think I have the bandwidth today to sit down and have a fun old doing my taxes session. I may end up drinking a lot at the end of it because I'm just sick of it, but that's, I guess, the good thing is I do have an opportunity to get it done. So I will try to put a little silver lining around that dark cloud. Another silver lining is that I get to have some time doing a podcast with Michael, and he's going to introduce him and his Silver Surfer self.
Hey everyone, my name is Michael Meloche. I'm one of the co-founders of Developreneur, building better developers, and this season, building better businesses. I'm also the founder of a company called Envision QA, where if you're a passionate entrepreneur or business looking for help with a software solution, be it a problem you already have or something you need built, we recognize your desire for reliable, high-performing solutions that set you apart from your competitors. We offer tailored software and quality assurance solutions to optimize the performance and reliability of your e-commerce platform. Picture a flawless user experience, increased sales, and a competitive edge in the market. That's what Envision QA will bring to you. Highs and lows. Well, still in the lows of we are still getting storms. I'm getting tired of spring. We are actually getting a spring again this year, and with that comes a lot of water. On the positive side of that, spring is almost done. My allergies are almost over, so I'm starting to feel better. I can start getting off of that drug-induced medication high from too much Benadryl. But medicine head is a real thing and a real pain in the butt when you're trying to focus on work.
So this episode, I want to talk about some ways to talk to your customers, some ways to work with them to get ideas of how you can help them. This is starting the conversation. The idea that sort of was the germ for this topic was the idea of like pitch parties. And there are definitely situations, there are events out there and things like that that are effectively that. It may be like, it may be something local. It may be like a venture capital group or something like that, where it's basically hey, we're going to have a day or an event where you bring your ideas out, much like the sharks on TV or something like that, where it's basically like, hey, talk to us. what is it you need? And then we will, we can help. Now, usually that's done from a venture capital kind of approach, or, maybe signing up for some sort of a program or something like that, like the co-starters that Michael has mentioned. But you can do that as part of your company. And I want to throw some ideas out there, and we can sort of talk through a little bit of these on this episode. Now, one of the things is you could actually create a podcast or a blog that is an interview kind of format where you go and talk to either an existing or a prospective customer and just talk about what are their challenges. And you don't really have to do much in those other than just say, hey, here's some of the challenges. And maybe you wrap up that thing with a little 5-minute, like, here's some things that we could do or how we could work to move you forward. You could even make it like you could have a theme like a I'm stuck podcast or something like that. That is, you help somebody over, you're helping them over the hump. You're helping them through some barrier or some blocking thing with them. The other thing you can do is make it part of a meetup. It could be, we've talked about meetups before and things like that, but it may be something where the whole point is that the meetup is almost like a support group of some sort, where people come in and they just say, hey, here's some things that we are struggling with. Because the elevator pitch that we've talked about is great for you to say, hey, I do this. What is more valuable is when your customers say, hey, I need this. If you can get that, then you can look at whether you're going to be able to solve that problem for them, whether that makes sense. And it also may allow you to help them, not directly, but by saying, hey, I know somebody that does this, that solves that problem. And then you get a little, karma, or, whatever it is that you want to think of, you get a little bit of positive feedback because you helped somebody. Even if you didn't directly, you did help point them in the right direction, which is not a bad person to be. If you're a company, a person where people say, hey, if you go to this person or this company, they will either help you, or they're also very good at helping you, even if it's not directly of a benefit to them, then that makes you an expert in a field or something like that. That is definitely useful. It also allows you to show what working with you looks like. You sort of get to show off a little bit what your skills are and what you bring to the table. Now, this can be very specific. So it could be, and you can look out there, there are YouTube channels that are developers recording themselves writing code. That may sound like the most boring thing in the face of the earth to you, but to some people that is very valuable. And it does allow, particularly for that developer, it allows somebody that's a potential employer could say, oh, well, this is how this person thinks. This is how they solve this problem. Wow, they have solved this problem before. This happens to be a problem that we need solved. There are a lot of opportunities now, particularly when you think of all of the YouTubes and blogs and podcasts and all the different things that are out there. There are a lot of different forums for you to have those conversations. And so that's where I want you to start thinking about, instead of waiting for them to come to you, is provide an opportunity for them to do so. And this could be things like, which are, some of them could be great charity events where it's things like, hey, you get, the best business idea wins, 10 free hours of consulting or something like that. Or, you can do things where you can make it more than just a meetup. You can make it an event. You can work with somebody, like work with a small business group in your area and say, hey, we want to, we're going to help small businesses move forward. We're going to help them get unstuck with the thing that they're working on. We want to help them get over the hump, or we want to help them, take the first step, whatever your specialty is. And have like something that's, maybe it's a little contest, and work with that local small business group and say, hey, we're going to take, the number one, the winner, we're going to, as many people want to apply, and then they're going to have this contest. And then the winner gets a free week of consultation, or a free website, or whatever your thing is that a free product, whatever, or licenses for their company, whatever it is that you sell. Think about the idea of giving away stuff as more than just giving it away, but instead being something where it's like, it's not just that one company that's receiving what you're giving. It's actually all of the other people in attendance. And now you're like, it's a little bit bragging about saying, hey, look, I'm giving this something to this person and look how good I am. But it really is more about like, this is how we work with people, and we are willing to give back. We are willing to work. And that allows other people to see, and they'll be like, wow, I like how you guys think. I like how Michael thinks. I want to hear your thoughts on this one.
So I'm going to pivot. So you've touched on the podcast, the blogs, doing the elevator pitch, talking to customers, giving them incentives to kind of pitch to them. I kind of want to tap into some other avenues that you could use to kind of perfect your pitch or do these pitch parties. One of the things that I recently ran into a couple of years ago was my local the Co, or it's like a WeWork. It's a great place to go work, but also meet other business people, other business owners in your area, and kind of introduce yourself to them. You kind of get a feel for what type of businesses are in your area, who's running them, and they kind of already have established businesses. So sometimes that's a great way to figure out, okay, what is in my area that I can kind of tap into for my idea, for the pitch. Am I going to be able to find customers in my area? The other thing is to go to your standard basics. You've got the Better Business Bureau, which is in almost every single state, city, whatever. They have a lot of networking meetings and things you can go to, can sign up for. Other things too, like your local chambers, your local small business ventures. A lot of them have these networking groups where it's good to go out and talk to people. It's not necessarily always the great way to pitch, but what's interesting is a lot of them give you the opportunity or give you the resources you need to create these pitch parties. So what you can do is through like the Better Business Bureau, through the chamber, you host a small TED talk or some talk on the topic of the problem you're trying to solve. Get the ideal people in front of you that you're trying to solve their problem. Walk through the problem, how it affects your target customer. Walk through and then get to how the problem is solved and get the feedback from your audience to say, hey, is this what you're looking for? You have hopefully the customer base in front of you that you can kind of do a Q&A session with them and figure out, is your idea the right idea or are you off track? So that's another good way to kind of tweak your pitch there. Other things which you have to be a little more cautious of is social events, be it like Java user groups, networking groups, things of that nature. Yes, those are great for networking and meeting, but be careful to go into a or basically a new environment and just expect everyone to want to hear your idea. It takes a little bit of skill and patience to first introduce yourself, get a rapport with the person, and then slowly bring in it is you do. Don't just start right off the top because you're going to basically freeze the room out and they're going to ask you to leave. Or by the end of the day, you'll be standing in the corner being the only one drinking ginger ale. That being said, you just have to kind of read the room and be careful with that. Same goes with online social media. TED Talks, Facebook, all those things are fine. But if you don't take the time to introduce yourself and get embedded in the channel first, you're going to come in as a spammer and people aren't going to listen to you and they're going to ask you to leave. So talking to people is what we need and what we want to do to figure out if our idea works. But you need to make sure that you're, one, hitting the right target audience, two, you're in the right situation, and three, are you reading the room? Are you really with people that you need to be talking about your ideas with, or are you in a situation where maybe you pivot, instead of talking about your pitch, you talk about, hey, how did you get your business going? Maybe turn it into a information gathering on how to grow my business or how to build up my idea without actually pitching your idea. What are your thoughts on that?
I really think it does go down to, it comes back to people buy from those that they know, they trust, and that hear them, and that they like, basically. And so it's not, none of those three things, know, trust, and like, have anything to do really with your pitch or the problem. know, trust, and like are all relationship words. Now, you may be unlikable, in which case you're out of luck. You better find a way to be likable. But the knowing and the trusting, as Michael said, like you're not going to have somebody bust into a room and be like, hey, look at me, I'm awesome. It doesn't matter how awesome they are. You're not going to trust them. Like if The Rock walks into a room, there is a presence and everybody knows that he's walked into the room, but you're not necessarily going to trust him right there because you don't know. You're just like, okay, he makes a, I know who he is, but I may not even like that, but I'm definitely not to the trust stage. So that's, I think, where you want to go with these things is what really is, the goal. What is it besides solving the problem? Is how can you, as part of solving the problem, make that an enjoyable experience for them and then show that off to other people to be sort of like, hey, look, this is not scary or intimidating or anything like that. This is actually, we're going to make this maybe even a fun process solving your problem. But if not fun, but at least something where they're like, okay, I trust that approach. And I like how you do this, because sometimes that's it. I've definitely had customers that have said, I don't know if this is in your wheelhouse, but I like working with you. So here's something else I want to pitch.
The other thing
Thoughts?
too is you have to understand how to read the room. It's yes, it is about trust, but the other thing is you're trying to pitch your idea, but in the same token, you need to have the ability to switch that off and listen to your customer, because your solution to their problem may not be the solution. And they're trying to tell you how to fix their problem, and you're not listening because you're so focused on how your solution will fix their problem. So there are times where you do need to step back and listen, not just pitch.
And I think that's it. It goes back to, it goes back to, there was, and I forget who it was, is there was somebody that was interviewed a couple of great people back almost 100 years ago, probably. And they said there was one person when they talked to them that they felt like they were talking to the smartest person in the world. And the other person that they talked to made them feel like the listener was the smartest person in the world. And so I think those are two little nuggets of wisdom, basically. And something to consider is that, you need to, this goes back to the trust. It's like you can solve the problem, but you can solve it in such a over the top way that they're just like, I love that you solved my problem, but I really just don't like working with you because it's uncomfortable in some way, form, or fashion. So it goes back to the relationship side of things, is finding a way to make this, like I said, if nothing else, enjoyable. I mean, ideally enjoyable, but if nothing else, something that they're like, okay, this is worth the time. Thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, we've covered kind of both sides of this, but at the end of the day, you need to get comfortable in your own skin talking about your product, your solution to a problem. Pitching to people is the number one easiest way, free advertisement, free information gathering, to talk to people to get what you need or get the information you need, other than just mining online useless websites, or maybe not useless, but mining websites and static information that does not give you the emotion of how this problem impacts your end user or your customer. So you're going to have to break out of your shell a little bit and get a little more social and go talk to people. And the last thing I'll note on this is, if you're not a company yet and you're just building an idea, be careful about is this something you will buy versus buy now? Because if you're not talking to the right people, you may hear, oh, that's a wonderful idea, but they won't buy it. They'll tell you all day long that, yeah, go for it, go build it, but they won't buy it. So make sure that your audience that you're talking to is the people that will buy the product to give you the feedback to their problems.
I think I'm going to leave it at that and we'll move into the challenge. So the challenge this episode is to come up with an idea. Just sit there and kick back for a little bit. Like what would be, spend a little time brainstorming, whether it's just you, your team, your whoever it is, your drinking buddies, your poker people. I don't care. It's just like, sit there and brainstorm a little bit ideas like how could we get some people together to talk about the business problems that are in the line of our ideal customers. Because I think just the exercise, even if you don't come up with a real good solution, I think it's a start. I think it's one of those things that we don't, I think most of us don't leverage that option often enough. And I think it's a really valuable challenge. Side note, the challenge would be send us an email at info@developaneur.com because we would love to hear from you. We do this for you. I mean, we have a good time, but we also do this for you guys. So definitely let us know what you think and where you would like us to go in future topics. And as always, you can reach to us at, on X, formally, we're finally getting to the point where we can formally say Twitter, but still on X, it's the @developaneur. You can see us on the Developaneur channel on YouTube, actually see us, or you can, put it on a non-visual side. So you just have to hear us instead, if that's more preferable. It may be. You can check it. We have a Facebook page. We have, of course, developaneur.com. Leave us comments wherever you do that, wherever you, likes or dislikes, whatever it is, feedback on wherever you, listen to podcasts. We would love to get that feedback so that we can make this better for you, so we can be building better podcasts as well along the way. That being said, go out there and build yourself a better you. Have yourself a great day, a great week, and we will talk to you next time. Bonus material.
I covered a lot during the podcast. The thing I'll throw out is if you are unsure what your pitch is, AI is a great example of kind of wordsmithing, or at least playing around, bouncing ideas off of someone if you don't have someone in front of you. Maybe just throw in your ideas, kind of wordsmith it, and get to the point where you get something that you can tailor to a pitch. Pitching is not easy. As you see from our multiple intros, I vary from time to time, unlike Rob, with the description of my company. It's still hard to pitch unless the person's in front of you, so you know your audience. So sometimes you'll need to come up with a generic pitch, and then sometimes you'll need to come up with a more personal pitch. So that's kind of my 2 cents on this one, my bonus.
I think the bonus I'll follow up to that is that it does help. While AI is actually an excellent suggestion, I do think that there is a level of doing an in-face pitch to somebody and being able to see their reactions and the emotions that it does is going to help you quite a bit. Getting that kind of feedback from somebody that you know and trust yourself, I think can be very insightful, particularly if they are in some way related to or know something about your customer. Maybe they are an ideal customer or they know something about your customer base. So definitely getting that feedback is always helpful. That being said, thank you so much for your time. We're going to wrap this one up and let you get out there because you have an email to send us, of course, as always. And thank you for those of you that do give us the feedback. We appreciate that. We love it. And we do as much as we can to try to get you, responses back to let you know that we got it and we loved it. And thank you so much. As I always say, that being said, go out there and have yourself a great one. And we will talk to you guys next time.